at the Cliniko integration with CliniScripts. So firstly, going to app.cliniscripts.com, logging in will take you to this dashboard. And firstly, you will notice to be able to import your notes from Cliniko, you can navigate to the import notes from EMR bar. And if you've added all of the API keys, you should be ready to go, and you'll be able to pull notes directly from Cliniko. So in our test version here, we have 2 patients that were available. If we look at Jonathan, we have a number of notes, and each one of these represents a previous note that we've recorded with Jonathan. So I can pull one of these into my existing, in my latest session. So I would just select on this button. I could click next. It'll take me back to the dashboard, and what it has done successfully is actually upload the previous note that it will pull into my next session. So if I want to do an in-person session with Jonathan, I can go and customize my notes, and to focus specifically on Cliniko, I can choose which notes that I would like to use, perhaps progress notes and my SOAP notes, and then I can continue my conversation. So when it takes me to the active session application, I can just click Start Record and begin my session. And so as per normal, on the application, I can start to transcribe my live session or virtual session. In this case, I'm doing a live session. And I'm here with Jonathan, and we're going to do a follow-up session regarding his stressful situations and his anxiety that's causing him to lose sleep and low energy, and to really dread going to work and to school. So, we would continue on that vein and discuss the plan with Jonathan to continue, good lifestyle choices. Perhaps we might look into a referral to a physician or psychiatrist to look at some medication potentials for him. But otherwise, we want to continue with our coaching and our therapies on a weekly basis. So upon concluding that session, we can generate our new notes. And you can see that the application has captured the nature of the discussion around anxiety and potential burnout with our ICD codes. And then while it takes time a few minutes to generate the new note, we can generate the SOAP note, and then we'll show the export function here in a moment. And you can see now that we've generated a note based on our brief conversation. And we want to add this to our EMR, and this is where the opportunity to export directly into Cliniko comes in. We can actually generate a secondary output if we wish, up to 4 outputs, in fact, to include. The progress notes are simplified in this case for the brief conversation, but what we can do is we can export our notes to Cliniko. So what it allows us to do is now this integration will allow us to see our patients, and we see Jonathan and Aurora. So we'll pick Jonathan in this case, and we're going to be able to export those notes directly into our Cliniko. And so now that will show up in our patient files in our Cliniko application. So that is the functionality that you can now use. You can export those notes directly into your patient records with your Cliniko integration. Very simple. And now you can rest assured, you can always go and check that in your Cliniko files. But you can rest assured that is now archived securely, and you can move on to your next session. So there's really 2 things to summarize. We can import a patient file. So what that does is it adds additional context to our session, and we can now export that note directly into Cliniko for safekeeping.